This is Bing Bong and Sarah. I've had them as pets for 4 years. They are Southeast Asian box turtles, scientifically known as Cuora amboinensis. They are native to the Philippines and other Southeast Asian countries where they are commonly found in streams, rivers, rice paddies, and wetlands. Here, Bing Bong and Sarah receive the best care possible. Sadly, the same cannot always be said for their kind in the wild. The International Union for Conservation of Nature, or IUCN, classifies the species as endangered, with populations declining by nearly 80%. This drastic decrease is largely driven by illegal wildlife trade, but more significantly by habitat loss and pollution. Pollution is a broad term that affects ecosystems across the world. It may refer to heavy metals, plastics, and other forms of waste contaminating our environment. In the Philippines, this has become a serious issue, greatly impacting our country's biodiversity. Over the years, pollution and environmental degradation have pushed several endemic and local species to the brink of extinction. The Philippine crocodile, for instance, is now classified as critically endangered, partly due to deteriorating water quality and destructive practices such as dynamite fishing. Another example is the Irrawaddy dolphin, known locally as the Lumba Lumba, recognizable for its rounded head and smiling appearance. Fewer than 100 individuals are believed to remain in Philippine waters. Much of this damage is caused by contaminated waterways, whether from heavy metals released by industrial waste and mining activities, plastics that gradually break down into microplastics invisible to the human eye, or destructive fishing practices such as dynamite fishing. As water quality deteriorates, ecosystems become increasingly imbalanced, threatening the survival of countless aquatic species. But the consequences do not stop with wildlife. Many marine species from the backbone of food security and livelihood in our country are affected. As an archipelago, millions of Filipinos depend on healthy oceans and rivers for sustenance and income. The Philippine fishing industry contributes significantly to our national economy, providing food and employment to millions of people. However, many of our fishing grounds are now heavily polluted. As a result, contaminated seafood may carry heavy metals or microplastics, substances that eventually enter the human body when consumed, posing serious health risks. To better understand how pollution affects the human health, let us hear from two specialists, both proud sons of Lourdes.
Paxet Bonum. I'm Dr. Peter Dalion. I'm a rheumatologist. So there are some studies show that development of autoimmune condition is somehow related to chronic exposure to heavy metals. In these studies, they show that communities or residential areas near industries that are contaminated with heavy metals such as mercury, lead, and cadmium have higher rates of autoimmune conditions such as systemic lupus erythematosus or SLE and rheumatoid arthritis. Just like how microorganisms affect or interact with our immune system, these heavy metals also interact with our immune system when we are exposed chronically and cause abnormal function of our immune system, causing them to produce antibodies that cause damage and eventually autoimmune conditions. So there are several mechanisms identified in several studies on how this happens. So there are mechanisms such as oxidative stress, molecular mimicry, immune dysregulation, and epigenetic modification. All of these are also linked to how microorganisms affect the immune system to be to cause autoimmune conditions. It is important to note here that the word association was used in these studies and not causation. Autoimmune conditions generally do not have a specific cause like other medical conditions, because autoimmune conditions are basically an interplay between our genetics and the environment. Environment meaning our exposure to these heavy metals, exposure to sunlight, pollution, to the medications we take, to the food we eat, to the stress we experience. So basically, these exposure to heavy metals are considered risk factors. Okay. So with regards to microplastics, so research on microplastics and the development of autoimmune conditions is still relatively new compared to heavy metals, but there are some associations also with the regards to the development of some autoimmune conditions, or at least abnormal immune response to microplastics. There still needs to be there's still a need to conduct longitudinal researches to develop uh, to develop, or at least to determine the effect of microplastics in our daily lives on how and if it will cause autoimmune conditions. So that's it. The bottom line is these heavy metals have already been associated with development of autoimmune conditions, and with regards to microplastics, there can be, but we will still need to wait for newer studies, longer studies, okay, of whether it will cause autoimmune conditions or not. Okay, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I am Dr. Robert Ivan Malyari, and I'm also a Lourdesian. I graduated Lourdes School of Mandaluyong, year 1997. Ingestion of contaminated seafood with those heavy metals like mercury, cadmium, arsenic, and lead, and others like that, uh, which are toxins inside the body, and thus can really contribute to kidney damage and potentially increase the risk for chronic kidney disease. Why kidney? Why is the kidney the targeted organ? Because as we all know, kidneys are the filters of the body, no? So all of our blood goes through the kidney every day, so that the blood can be cleansed, and those toxins that enter the body can be eliminated through the urine. So the kidneys are the ones exposed of handling those toxins, no, those heavy metals, and in turn, those heavy metals for long-term exposure, and just by the presence of those heavy metals, for example, the cadmium, the lead, and the mercury, it can potentially damage the cells of your kidneys, which are called the nephrons, no? So it can really be very damaging to your kidneys, no, by destroying those cells. Okay, so in turn, the kidneys will fail, and that will be very, very not good for the patient. Those micropollutants, or I mean the microplastics, these are the products of your non biodegradable residues, no, garbage. So these microplastics, these non-biodegradable plastics, when they well, in some form degrade, they become small particles as small as less than 5 millimeters. That's why they are called microplastics. And they can enter the body through the blood, through the lungs by inhaling, through the mouth by ingestion of food, no, and it was found out by studies that they really are present, no, they were found to be present in the lungs, in the urine, in the blood. So these are studies which are still ongoing, but there's the evidence base now that those microplastics found their way to the body. No, so in effect, just like the effects of the heavy metals, those microplastics can go to the blood and then reach the kidneys. Again, the kidneys, because it filters those um, not naturally occurring in the body. Those microplastics are very harmful because it can cause kidney inflammation, and it can also start oxidative stress on our nephrons, or the basic renal cells. It can also cause inflammation. That's why all those three activities in the kidneys can damage your kidney cells or your nephrons. No, so what one major effect is, it can affect the filtering mechanism of your kidney. It can destroy that mesh framework. That's why even larger particles can now be seen in your urine, which is supposed to be not seen in the urine. So it can destroy the function of your kidney of filtration, and also it can also destroy the mere structure of the kidney itself, the tubular structure of your kidneys. That's why these microplastics are very, very harmful and toxic to the body. I guess that's it. I hope I answered your question well.
In the end, it is not only animals that are affected by pollution, it is us as well. Whatever waste we throw in our environment eventually finds its way back to us, if not directly, then through the fish we eat or the waters we depend on. Those who suffer the most are the poorest communities. And while environmental protection laws exist, real change begins with small steps in our daily lives. We can start by saying no to single-use plastics and switching to better alternatives such as reusable cloth bags or biodegradable materials like bioplastics. For instance, this bioplastic is made purely from corn and cassava, allowing it to dissolve in water without posing a risk to marine life. But action must also extend beyond our homes. On a larger scale, we must demand accountability and support leaders who genuinely advocate for environmental protection and sustainability. By choosing better policies and better leadership, we help secure a greener future. Together, we can make a difference by living out our ecological responsibility. Being a brother or sister to all does not apply only to fellow humans, but to every part of creation entrusted to our care. Every plastic avoided may mean one fish spared, or even one human life protected. This has been Project Life. Until next time.
Sinubukan kanilang pilayin, sinubukan kanilang patahimikin. Akala ba nila hahayaan mo sila?
Sinong nagtutusa pag winawasak yung kalikasan? Sino? Yung mahihirap.